Are we live? Maybe? No one's watching though. Didn't send out a notification. No one is here. Hello, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Is anyone in here? Heh, it's just you and me, Chris. We got a live show. You and me can hang out. Is it is it actually like is it lagging at all, or is it catching up, or is it because it seems like it's going really slow on my end? Quiet, huh? Don't know, I have that effing problem. Quiet, huh? No, I have that effing problem. Well, I think I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I proved that I can actually do something. Well, I think I accomplished what I set out to accomplish. I proved that I can actually do something. So what's up, guys? You want to talk about anything? Who do we got? Chris and Trevin in here? Dude, the YouTube software is just it's being ridiculous. It's yeah. It won't even let me choose when to go live or when to end the stream. Um yeah, I don't know. It was doing the same thing yesterday. That's what happened during the watch party is it created two different feeds and like started one of our old streams over again, and then a bunch of people went into that stream, and then the people who were actually in the right stream like went to the other one, and then it was just a disaster. uh I'm trying to talk loud. I have no idea why, because I watched um part of the show back last just to see what the audio was happening with the audio, and as soon as Tori left and I switched to mine only, I got really quiet, like you guys said. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to talk loud, but I did it, Nats. This is like a private show here with like me and four people. I'll try putting my headphones in and see if that helps. I think it helped yesterday. Does that make any difference, or is it the exact same? No difference. Okay. Why is this happening? I'm going to delete. I'll just hold the mic up to my. There we go. Maybe it's just the acoustics of my garage or something. Is it better when I hold it up here? All right, I'll just hold it for a while then. So Nats, Tori titled the stream. He meant that the luck of having most of the teams that we needed to lose actually lose games ran out today. Pretty much every team that we wanted to lose won. So yeah, wasn't a great day for us. Plus, our schedule gets a little harder from here on out. I am going to see if I can put the mic up here and talk into it that way. Dude, YouTube's just tripping out hardcore. It says I have an excellent connection, but it keeps like freezing. We didn't have any lag problems yesterday though. That was good. I ran it through my internet. What's up, Alvaro? How you doing, man? Yeah, I'm not super worried about any teams unless they pass us for the 8th seed. If they do that, then it'll suck having to win 2 games against any team without having to lose. What's up, Mini Tooth? Hey, Haven. I don't know if it worked. It's just, it's kind of working. Uh, do I think the Clippers will let us win? I don't think they'll actually let us win. I just think it's funny to like have a conspiracy theory that they will. But yeah, we'll see. And yeah, it is not my internet bugging out. It is YouTube that is just going crazy. I said this earlier. I kind of want the Clippers to try at least in the first half just to see where we're at against a team that has 2 good wings like that. But yeah, I mean, if they let us win, I won't be mad either. But it would be nice to see where we're at, though. Tori had to go. He was going to have me take over the stream at a certain point, but YouTube is glitching out hardcore. It created multiple streams and wouldn't let us in the stream or let me take over the stream for him. So he left, and then I just tried to start a new one on my own. Suns play. We did picks against the spread in the other chat before he left. The Suns play the Heat tomorrow, and the Heat are favorites. So I'm hoping that the Heat can take care of business and knock the Suns off. We really need them to lose. Yeah, Montrezl Harrell still not joined the team, and Beverly is out tomorrow as well. So yeah, they don't have a lot of depth. Gary greater than Kawhi. Yeah, I think he's got to win a championship before that. Kawhi's got two Finals MVPs. But it's close, right? Hassan is listed as doubtful. It came out today that he has a hip injury, and no one knows if he's going to play or not. I'm assuming he's going to sit out. It'll be interesting what they do in that situation. Do they just bring Collins out early and then have him play backup center? Or do they start Trent at the 3, move Melo back to the 4, and bring Collins off the bench as the backup center? That would be interesting to do. So is it lagging out, or is it just on my end that it looks like it keeps freezing? I hope what we see is, I mean, you'll get Simons for like 15 minutes again. You'll get maybe I'm hoping they give Little a chance if that's the case, if Trent's moving into the starters. So you'll always have Dame or CJ in the game, and then just a few spot minutes with Simons when they're not both in the game. And then you have Trent, and then Melo can play a little bit of the backup 3. You might see Gabriel for a few minutes too. If anyone can hear me, I'm getting an error message from YouTube now. Probably just going to end the stream in a minute because this isn't fun to keep freezing over and over again. It's probably annoying for you guys too. Yeah, Charles Barkley said we're going to make the finals. Yeah. Dame says we would have made the finals last year if we had Melo. Yeah, I don't know. Um, could have, or we could have lost in the first round. Yeah, it's tough to know what would have happened. Uh, I did see a lot of stuff saying like, oh, we'd have Harkless, Aminu, Melo, and like all those guys. Well, we probably would have had to trade Harkless for one to get Melo, so we wouldn't have had Harkless. Uh, but yeah, we would have had because Melo made like 25, 26 million or so. So like we would have had to trade at least Harkless and Leonard, or Harkless and um, Turner, or some sort of combination. I mean, that would have been great. We probably would have. Yeah, Malcolm, what's up, man? Tori can. Tori loses again. um, but it's YouTube. It's not Tori or myself. Is the problem. But yeah. Uh, but yeah, if we would have had to send like at least a first round pick, probably multiple first round picks. So then we don't have. Let's see, 2018 was was that the Simons draft? So yeah, we don't have Simons. Oh no, that would have been. No, it would have been, that's the right. Right? No, I'm off a year. Yeah, I don't know. We would have had to send them multiple first round picks though, but we would. I guess it would have been 2017, but we would have traded our 2018 first most likely, which turned out to be Simons. So we wouldn't have Simons right now, and then we don't, like I said, don't have probably Melo or Myers. I think the problem was if Melo accepted a trade here, uh, they didn't want Myers either. So, and all our guys had like at least 2 years left on their contracts at that point. So we're talking like having to give up multiple assets just to get them to take on those contracts, even though Melo had a couple years too. But I still don't know if trading Mo was the mistake. I think the mistake was not trading Whiteside at the deadline, and we're seeing that play out right now, that there's just no way for it to work long term. I mean, I hope I'm wrong and he's just the hip injury. But yeah, 10 is bright and early for all these youngins, Anime Jake. I don't know how old you are, but yeah, a lot of, especially with his times where we're mostly stay at home and not a lot of stuff is open. I think a lot of people stay up late on their computers or video games and stuff. So yeah, if we keep Jake and just, that might not have been the problem. We also could have yeah, we're still in a position where we could possibly re-sign Mo this summer, so we'd only be missing him for a year. But yeah, with the injuries we had this year, I don't know if any kind of different moves would have made us any different. Obviously, if we found a way to get a guy like Baines instead of Whiteside, he obviously doesn't put up as good as stats, but he might have fit a little better within the offense. I don't know, but I feel like Whiteside played about as good as we could have hoped from him this season. It's just not the greatest fit. But yeah, hopefully it's the hip. So Mo Harkless is ended the season with the Knicks, so he's not in the bubble because the Knicks are one of the 8 teams that was not here. And then yeah, Jake was used poorly. Talked about this many times. They expected him to be like Mo Harkless when Harkless wasn't playing, and that's just not his game. If they would have played him more like they're playing Melo right now, where they don't necessarily put him on the best player, I think it would have been different, but yeah. I'm getting warnings from YouTube again. This sucks. Is everyone looking forward to the game? Is everyone going to be able to watch it? Zacho, do you have to work? Yeah, that is a good one, Alvaro. I kind of want I kind of want the Rockets to just keep with their small lineup next year, just because I don't think it can work out long term. But yeah, oh, work at 2, nice. Game's at 3 a.m. Are you gonna get up, Chris, or are you gonna stay up? Or what time is it right now? You have to go to bed for a little bit, probably. Do you have to work at all this weekend, Chris, or can you like take a nap after the game? Where do you live, Codename Ace? 1 p.m. East Coast somewhere. So Nats asked, "Do you think we should start Gary Trent Jr. at the 2 and have CJ come off the bench?" Absolutely not. I think that would ruin the chemistry of the team, and it also is a situation where CJ goes out early and comes back with the bench anyway. So you wouldn't have, it would be like no difference from where we are right now. Like, so it's just basically demoting him for no reason, when you could just start Trent at the 3 and play at both of them. So like I don't get why you would punish CJ in that situation, because he plays with the bench anyway. So it's not like he never plays with the bench and we want to see how he does with the bench or whatever. Like, it's he comes back in with the bench and runs the second unit to begin with. So I wish they would experiment a little more with not having Dame play the first quarter and the third quarter like every single game. I think there's times where they could take him out a little early and get him a couple more minutes of rest and then bring him back with the bench. I wish they would mix it up a little bit instead of being so like rigid with their rotations. But yeah, that's a good point by Anime Jake, is that CJ and Dame on the floor with Trent helps open up the spacing for him. And we talked about this in the post-game show yesterday, where if you have guys like Dame, CJ, Melo, and Nurk as the other 4 with Gary Trent Jr., despite how insane Gary Trent Jr. is playing right now, that's going to be the guy other teams have to leave open. So I like him playing with the starters. I like him more than with the second unit. So I wish they would play both in this with the starters. Yeah, I wish we would run more plays for Dame too to get him some easy buckets. Had some clown Golden State fan saying that Dame only shoots like long 40 footers because he's lazy, or like because he can't create shots on his own. It's so ridiculous. It's like the whole point of shooting those shots is to bring the defense out, so they have to guard him at 40 feet and then he can blow by him. It's like the exact opposite of what he was saying. Yeah, isn't that crazy, Anime Jake? Like, if you were just looking at their percentages, you would be like, okay, Gary Trent Jr., you have to guard this guy. I don't care about anyone else. You guard him first of all. But that's not what's happening in any of these games. Like, he's always the one wide open. So it is interesting when you have a player that hot and he's like the 5th person that people worry about on other teams. And that's why it's so great to have a guy like that shooting so well. And that's why he fits so well with the starters, because that's anytime they start paying attention to him more, it's gonna put more pressure on the defense to guard him, and that's gonna leave Dave and CJ more open than they normally are, and that can only lead to better things for the offense. So I'm thrilled to have Gary Trent Jr. His arrival on the scene in this bubble thing, and yeah, I don't know if we can beat the Lakers. I think the problem is they don't have to win any of these games, so it's hard. Even if you're trying to win, it's hard to like get as intense as you would in a playoff series. And anytime you have two of the top 10 players in the NBA, it's going to be a tough matchup to beat them. But yeah, I mean, we did go down there and like no one thought we were going to beat them on the Kobe night. So we have a shot. If we play well, we can compete with them. I don't know if we can win the series, but yeah. Yep, that's a good point, Codename Ace. A lot of players aren't prepared to accept the shot. They don't know how to catch the ball right to get into your motion quicker. And Gary Trent seems to have perfected that skill already in his second year, and he's always ready to shoot. He's got that nice little compact shot. I like his form. So it's very he's able to replicate that throughout the game, even when he's tired. He's strong for his size, so like he's not really shorting shots when towards the end of the game, which is nice to see as well. Yeah, we've talked about Zach needing to improve his hands somehow. He could not grab the ball or catch it sometimes, and it's really frustrating. I don't know. That's the problem with that is that's one of those things where it's hard to like teach it. I mean, I guess you could practice just like kind of like a wide receiver, just like get one of those machines that spit the ball out at you and like a pitching machine for a basketball and just work on catching it a lot. Maybe you can improve your hands a little bit, but overall it's really difficult to just go from having butterfingers to like all of a sudden having soft hands and catching everything. So not super hopeful on that, but if you can figure that out, I still have really high hopes for Zach. And yeah, we talked about that yesterday. They both need to finish better. Same with Anthony. I feel like all those guys could just get to the line so much more if they went up stronger. Even if they're not finishing, the defense would have to foul them a lot if they were or get posterized. So yeah, Zach's got such nice quick work. That's weird, Leo. Is that he has his feet are like he has beautiful post moves. Like his footwork is great, but then his hands suck. Like usually you have both when you have good hands and good feet, but like so it's weird that one's so bad and one's so good. And I talked about this too. I think we're giving Zach or a little too hard on Zach based on the fact that Nurk's come back from injury and been so good, but we don't recognize that Zach just got cleared to play a few weeks ago. So he was sat out for several months, wasn't able to shoot a lot during that time until his shoulder was better, wasn't able to do a lot of strenuous catching of the ball or like with medicine balls or things like that. So I think we should just give Zach a little bit of a pass. This should have been his third year breakout year, so by now he would have been, I think, really comfortable in the starting lineup and all that stuff. But yeah, right now, I still like what he's doing on the floor. I still think he provides something we need, and that's a defensive forward that goes vertical a lot instead of trying to like get out of position and block shots. But yeah, I'm willing to give Zach a little bit of pass with these bubble games, but next year he's got to start proving it. Nurk had at least 5 dunks that I remember. He had 3 towards the end of the first half and 2 in the second half. Maybe a 6th one in there somewhere, but at least 5 dunks. Yeah, wouldn't that be great, Anime Jake, to have a 50% and a 62% 3 point shooter? I mean, even if that was like 45% for both of them, can you imagine Dame, CJ, Trent, and Hood like all shooting the lights out from three, and then you got like Nurk and people like that banging down low. I mean that. I think we're going to be really really good next year. Yeah, we never know what's going to happen with Hood. It's really tough. He looks like he's like on track to play next year, which is a good sign. Um, he also seems like the guy who's going to work his butt off in rehab to try and get to that point. And you could see how much, um, like you see those videos and like you see the guys cheering for him and stuff when he finally dunks it and all that stuff. It's good to see. You could tell how much the guys respect him. I actually just saw for the first time a commercial that it was like a car dealership commercial, and he seems like really awkward in it because he's such like a mellow, like shy guy. Um, it's definitely different than the Dame commercials. um, but yeah, it was kind of funny seeing Hood. Um, but yeah, so I think Hood is going to be okay. We didn't ask him to do a lot offensively other than kind of spot up and then occasionally back someone down and shoot. Like that kind of stuff won't be affected by his Achilles. Um, but yeah, defensively, hopefully he can maintain at least enough lateral quickness to be an acceptable defender. I think he's a little. I think it was a little overblown, his weaknesses defensively. I thought he was fine. Like we've always talked about with Layman, I feel like he was kind of put in a position that's not necessarily his full strength, but I thought he did a better job than Melo or Layman did when he was asked to guard like opposing teams' point guards and stuff. He's just not fully suited for that, and then coming off an Achilles. So we're gonna have more of like what we're seeing in these last few games, where you have like Dame stepping up and taking some hard defensive assignments, and Gary Trent guarding like the best player on the other team. I'm also excited to see what Little develops into next year, Zacho. I think like we talked about last night again. Anytime you see that growth over a year or two, or like during one season, I'm excited to see if he works that hard on other aspects of his game, how far he'll grow in just like a year or two. How long is the season going to be off for like off season? They're talking about starting again in early December, and this season the finals, if it goes to game 7, would be like October 12th or something like that, sometime in October. So it's going to be less than 2 months, and that draft and free agency start just a few days later. So it's going to be a crazy October, and then you're basically going to head right back into training camps right after the finals and free agency period. So pretty crazy. Yeah, what if we had you sign a center and then you have like Simons, Hood, Little, Ariza, and um, like I don't know, Aaron Baines or Derek Favors or somebody, or Cousins. Can you imagine Cousins with those three? Zacho. My quiet volume broke one of your earbuds yesterday. How did my quiet volume break it? Am I still really hard to hear, or is it okay since I moved the mic up? I'm sorry, Trevin. I basically had to try to do stuff with no help yesterday. It was really difficult. So, um, and Tori doesn't know why my volume all of a sudden just stopped working very well, but yeah, our bench could be like insane next year, and that'd be cool to get Dame and CJ some rest. Yeah, I know that's a contention between Tori and I. Alvaro is. I really want us to keep our pick, especially if a couple of those guys are still on the board. Tori doesn't want any part of most of the players in that range in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what the Blazers actually do. Thanks, Malcolm. I appreciate it. I appreciate you like hanging on during all the glitches too. I was so frustrated. I was trying to watch the game but figure out like how to how to work everything and stuff. Yeah, it was definitely a frustrating day. But yeah, we'll have another watch party for you guys too. I know some people didn't like it at all, Trevin. Do I think Cousins sees players like Melo, Seth, and Hood who have rejuvenated their careers in Portland and Boogie signs here? Um, he might. It might be a matter of whether we sign him or not, more so than if he would sign here. I just don't know if that's a direction that Olshey is willing to go now. But if you have Nurk and Collins healthy, that might be a situation where you can take a risk on that. Um, I just don't know what they're going to do with like Melo and Whiteside and all that stuff. But yeah, Trevin couldn't. He was having issues with the chat being ahead of the game. He was watching it on the internet, and so yeah, he was being spoiled. That wasn't good for him, which I understand. In the future, we could maybe have everyone who's ahead of some people like pause it for a few seconds and get closer. But yeah, it's tough. Yeah, we did try to sign Cousins. They have different agents now, but at the time, Nurk and Cousins both had the same agent. Now they've both since fired that agent, and Nurk unfortunately is with Clutch Sports now. Boo, screw Clutch Sports. Not that they're bad. It's just like I hope they don't try to manipulate things like they did with Anthony Davis. But but yeah, that was several years ago. I think that was also kind of a leverage move to try and get a better contract out of Nurk, which actually worked, and we signed a really good contract with Nurk. Um, the most we can offer Melo would be the full mid-level exception. It was supposed to be about 9.7 or so million dollars, but it's tied to the cap number and the average salary. So if the cap dips way down, that could dip down too. So yeah, probably like the 8 to 9 million would be the most we could offer him. But then everyone else, we'd basically only be able to sign minimum players other than Ariza. Ariza, we don't have to offer a contract because he has a non-guaranteed contract. So what that means is it's a date like right around the draft is the date they switch it to. We decide whether we want to keep Ariza for next year or let him go. If we waive him, he is a free agent, and we still owe him like 1.8 million. If we keep him, he's on the books next year for 12.8 million, and then we can't get out of that contract unless we trade him. So I think we'll end up keeping him next year. The only thing I'd say about that though is, if we play well in the bubble without him, maybe they're like, oh, why pay him close to 13 million when we are fine without him, and we got Hood back too on the wing, so maybe we don't need him. But I kind of want him, even if we feel that way, just to have one of those contracts to trade for a player, because like we'd have a really hard time matching any contracts like we've talked about if we trade, if we don't keep Ariza. And Hassan also does not factor into how much we can offer anyone else, because we have his full bird rights, so we could actually offer him a maximum contract if we wanted to, and still have the mid-level exception to sign anyone else. So yeah, Ariza and Hassan re-signing has no bearing on how much we can offer Melo, unless it was a situation where like ownership refused to pay Melo or pay anyone in that situation because they didn't want to put any more salary towards the stuff and only allowed minimum contracts. But in terms of what's legal under the CBA, that wouldn't have any effect on that. Yeah, I agree. I think this draft is really deep for rotation guys and maybe like fringe starters, good bench players, and you need those kind of guys. Yeah, maybe not a lot of stars, but there's at least 10 guys that have a really really big weakness, but if they ever like found a way to make that a strength or to improve that, they would be excellent players. Like you look like a guy like Okoro, who's like an awesome defender but can't shoot. If he ever found a way to shoot the ball, he would be an excellent player. There's several defenders like that. Um, yeah. Do I think Melo stays or leaves? Such a hard question. Up until the Houston game, I thought he would probably leave, and I thought we would kind of offer him a contract, but not 100% into it. But now with the comments that Dame's made the last couple days, between him saying we would have made the finals last year and if we had Melo, and now all the stuff he said about him after the Houston game as well, I just have a feeling we are going to offer him a contract and try to keep him, and think that he's a vital part of this team. Yeah, I'm not like Tori in this regard. I would be fine with Melo. I don't think we should promise him anything in the future, but I think he would, at this point in his career, he would kill coming off the bench. So I wish that would happen. But yeah, it's tough. And the thing about Hassan too, like Zacho says, he's not going to get paid by anyone. There's no one that's going to offer him more than the mid-level exception. So if we just offer him a little more, like around 10 million, that's a fairly reasonable contract. But there's not going to be any teams that offer him more than that. So he's going to have to decide whether he wants to stay here in a backup role for still under market value, but more than other teams are paying him, or he's going to have to take less money to sign on another team where he can maybe start and get more playing time. And I have no idea what he's going to do, but I just think that he'll eventually, it'll be kind of like the opposite of Cantor last year, where instead of like having to decide right away, we'll just be like, okay, take your time. This offer's on the table. We won't renounce your rights for a while, because it does no good for us to renounce his rights, and because it doesn't give us any cap space to do anything. So I think, yeah, we just, I think he's going to test the market, and he's going to find that no teams are really interested in him, and the teams that are maybe offering him like $5 million a year or stuff like that. And then he'll be like, wait a minute, Portland can give me more than that. I don't have a greatest role, but I think I deserve more money than these crappy offers. So I think he might end up in Portland that way. But I don't think we're going to go out of the way and just be like, hey, Whiteside, here's $20 million a season. Like, we want you to be our backup. Let's just sign right away. I don't think that's how it's going to work out. Cantor looks terrible now. Yeah, he's okay. I will say that Stotts did did play him the in the best possible way to maximize his abilities, so I have to give him credit for that. Cantor was actually really good. Yeah, I think Swanigan's gone. He might not even be in the league after this year. Uh, yeah, Alvaro, there's no chance we're getting Sabonis. There's no chance. They trade Miles Turner way before they traded Sabonis. That guy's like their future. It's a shame he got hurt to not play here, but yeah. Yeah, both Melo and Hassan took a backup role, and then we had, like CJ and I guess it would be CJ, Trent, um, CJ, Trent, Hood, Melo, and Whiteside as our bench. Obviously CJ starting too, but yeah, I really like that as a bench unit. I mean, it obviously has flaws, but Bradley Beal, there's no chance we could get Beal either. It's just a situation where like they're not gonna want CJ for Bradley Beal. It's such like that's not a move that helps them at all. Even if we threw in a bunch of draft picks, but then why would we do that? Yeah, I just think if they traded Beal, it would be to someone who has multiple like young guys who are a little further along than we have, and then also, I mean, you'd have to trade like Gary Trent. Would you trade Trent for Beal, like in a package? But plus, you have to get like the salaries to match, so it's going to be really hard. Do I think Oladipo will ever be the same? Yeah, I think Oladipo has a chance to be fine. We've seen this time and time again where with that type of injury, it's not like a bone; it was a ligament. So I think those type of injuries take longer to come back, and you have to give them a full season to recover. So I think starting, I don't know about the beginning of next year since it's such a weird timeline with the off season that we talked about, but I think towards the end of next season you'll see Oladipo getting back to where he was. Yeah, I think you're looking at a situation with multiple young guys and multiple picks, probably. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of a team that would. Well, like in our mock off season, yeah, Denver trading for him. Um, I don't know why I still have my headphones in. There's no reason for me to once the microphone started working better. Alex asks, what would you say Anthony's ceiling is of now? Um, I still think his ceiling is super high, like super high, um, like CJ level high. Um, the problem is, as time goes on, he's looking more and more unlikely to reach that ceiling. But the talent and athleticism and skill set is there to be that type of player. I just don't know if he'll ever get there. But his ceiling is still tremendously high. His ceiling is higher than Trent's. We're obviously seeing that Trent is much better player right now and will likely always be the better player because you can never count on a player to reach a ceiling. But But yeah, Anthony is he's one of those guys. He just plays with a good temperament. He doesn't get too up or too down. He's got a steadiness to his game. Um, if he ever figures out how to use his athleticism to be a better player, I think he could be really good. But yeah, that's a great point, Zacho. If whatever Trent's doing, Anthony should be glued to his side, doing that same exact thing, and learning everything he can as to what Trent's doing to improve his game. And I mean, I don't know how much he's doing that, but they came into the league together, and they were kind of close, I guess, the first year. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but yeah, I would just keep working. But Trent's got an advantage because he had more of an NBA ready type body that his dad helped him mold before he came into the league. But yeah, Codename Ace asks, who is your sleeper team in the East and West next season? Again, those questions are so hard, not knowing like who's gonna get draft picks, who's gonna do what. I mean, an obvious answer would be Golden State being a sleeper in the West. It's not really a sleeper though. But yeah, the West is so tough because the only two teams that aren't in the bubble are Minnesota and who's the other team I'm missing? Is that it? I think I'm missing. Oh, it's Minnesota and Golden State, right? Is there another team? Or is that it? Yeah, those are the only two teams. So, I don't think I don't like the Wolves. I don't like Cat like leading a team on his own. I think it would be much better on a team like Portland where he wasn't the having to lead the team. I don't like D'Angelo Russell's fit with him, even though they're friends. I mean, obviously, if they found a way to get Booker eventually and paired those three guys together, it would be different. But I mean, you're talking about teams that are at the bubble, like the Kings. I don't think would have a huge jump next year. Phoenix, you could say, could have a jump, but I don't like them long term. I mean, they're going to be okay, kind of in that mix for a last playoff spot, probably, but I don't know if that's necessarily like a sleeper team. I think Oklahoma City will fall off next year. I think Memphis should continue to get better. Um, yeah, Spurs will probably start going down a little bit before they come back up, if they ever come back up again. So not really worried about them. New Orleans, obviously, I guess would probably be the team that could see the biggest jump next year if they make the right moves. But then at the same time, you look at a guy like Zion who can't stay healthy, already on a minutes restriction. They almost cost themselves a game by not being able to play him tonight. Yeah. But Minnesota is one of those teams that I'm never going to predict them to be good again. Like, they had so many chances to build that team up, so many high draft picks, so many different situations they could have done to be a good team. And they get hyped almost every year until this year. And I'm so sick of people saying, "Oh, Minnesota's better than us" every freaking summer. I had to deal with that like the last 15 years of my life, and it just pisses me off because ever since they lost Garnett, they've sucked, and yeah, they're not good. So, do I think LaMarcus gets traded in the offseason? That's a really good question too. I don't know. It's there's going to be too many problems with teams not having contracts to match up for him. It's the same thing that happened this year with like Whiteside and Drummond and guys like that made him really hard to trade because all the teams that needed centers, the contracts they had to match those kind of guys are all guys they wouldn't want to trade for them. It wouldn't make sense. So um, it does make sense for the Spurs to want to try to trade LaMarcus. I just don't know if there's going to be a huge market for a guy like that. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Minnesota and the Suns. Yeah, the Suns recently have been one of those teams too. And everyone picks the Blazers to like be the team that falls out. I'm predicting that for OKC this year, but yeah, I just think LaMarcus is going to get stuck there, and I think DeRozan will opt in just because of the uncertainty of the cap. So he'll take the money and then try to get a big contract when a lot of teams have free agency. Yeah, they were okay with Butler, Minnesota, but I mean they got the 8th seed and lost in the first round, so it's not like they accomplished anything with him. But that team was stacked, and they still couldn't win. Um, yeah, I mean, they couldn't have predicted that Butler would be so pissy with the organization and hate it there and um, not like any of the good players on that team. But that shows me that those players will never amount to anything if they can't get along with a guy like Butler, because he's, I mean, you see that with like Myers. Like when Myers and him first went there was that thing. I forgot what time. Like Butler would show up at like 3 a.m. or something and start working and just like work for long periods of time at the practice facility. And then you heard that like Myers was like going in there with him some days, and like so like if you're a hard worker and like are trying to better yourself, Butler has no issue with you. And that's why I'm so down on guys like Cat and Wiggins, because he obviously questioned their work ethic and how good of players they want to be. And I just don't think you can do well if that's your attitude towards basketball, if you just kind of go out and play. And you see how talented a guy like Cat is, even with that. Like, can you imagine if he had the work ethic of a Jimmy Butler or a Damian Lillard or someone like that? Um, but yeah. And then Justin Patton, yeah, that guy was just, a lot of it was injuries. He's been hurt pretty much every year, but yeah, that guy's pretty much a bust. That draft, everyone was like in love with Justin Patton because he could shoot, but he hadn't really done much other than show off a little bit of shooting in college. But yeah, he was one of those guys who was like a project big that never panned out. And some of those guys are young enough to where they still could pan out if he ever gets healthy. But like, yeah, I don't know if Patton's ever gonna get um, too much time left in the league. Fortnite or 2 extra hours sleeping or shooting. I would yeah, I would play Call of Duty right now, but probably gonna play that after this for a little bit. I've never played Fortnite. I know that's probably lame of me, but never had an opportunity to play that game. Yeah, Butler is kind of like MJ, only not as good. You're right, but like he has that mentality. It's just not as good of a player. I wish Butler could stay a little healthier too. I'd like to see what he would do with that Miami team if he was fully healthy. Man, I can't believe we play in like 10 and a half hours. Cat would wax all of us in Fortnite. Yeah. But I mean, it's tough. I yeah, to a lesser extent, like I wish I would have been a little more dedicated to improving my game before I got out of high school. So I kind of see where they're at there. But yeah, when you're young, you don't necessarily want to put in the work to do that. But that's what separates like the truly great players from some of the players that never amount to anything, or like Wiggins. Is I mean, like a guy like Wiggins, there's no excuse. He has like every athletic advantage of being like a great player. Like he could be an epic player. Uh, but like it just seems like he doesn't care enough or isn't motivated enough to become that. So, um, yeah. Codename Ace says I really like Miami's chances in the playoffs. What about you? Um, yeah, like I said, it would help if they're healthy. I don't know if some of this is because they went through this all season, so I'm thinking that some of it's just like kind of resting players, but some of it they dealt with people sitting out all year. So, and then Dragic just hurt his ankle the other night. I haven't seen how he was affected by that, but yeah, you gotta. I like their chances. They match up well with Milwaukee, which helps them a lot. Um, I just see them as a team that kind of like you expect them to pull an upset maybe in a series or something. Oh, party foul. Sorry if that was loud. But yeah, I feel like they're not like I would be surprised if they made it to the finals or anything like that. So, but at the same time, like I said, they're one of the teams that has a chance to beat the Bucks. So who knows? The East is really weird this year. Yeah, a lot of you guys aren't old enough, but when Shaq came into the league, he was like super skinny with that power, and then he kind of put on a lot of weight, so he became a different type of player. But he was like super quick, um, and sorry guys, my bad. Hey, at least I know the mic's working. Sorry guys, my bad. Yeah, it's a shame I haven't seen, or like the games I've watched, I haven't seen Myers at all. Alex thought Wiggins would be a top 10 player. Yeah, pretty much everyone did. That's why he was the number one pick. And then Jabari Parker was number two, and everyone thought those were like two can't miss prospects. That's why, like you guys were talking about earlier, the draft maybe being a little underrated this year. Um, you just never know. Like that was heading into that draft. It was like you had to tank to get picks one or two, and I remember Philly got the third pick that year. I think that was the Embiid draft, right? So they were so pissed because they had tanked, all year to get either Jabari Parker, who I think is from Philly, or Wiggins. So they either one or two would have been great for them. And then they get three, and they're like all crying and stuff. But it turned out pretty good for them. They got the best player in that draft. It took him a couple years to play, but he's been good when he's been healthy. But yeah, that's why the draft is so weird. You never know. But like Mario Zonio was the fifth pick. You got a guy like Dragon Bender who was the fourth pick or something. You got Marquise Chris who was like the eighth pick. You just never know. And then like those were supposed to be good drafts, and then you look at this draft coming up and everyone's saying it's going to be crappy, but you could have like 20 players who are good from the draft, which would provide a lot of depth and stuff. So do I worry about the Blazers not being able to catch Memphis since they beat the Thunder today? um a little bit, yeah. I mean, that was a big game, being a game behind them instead of a game or tied with them. But Um, I don't know. Now that they lost Jaren Jackson, they don't really scare me. I'd almost rather play them over any other team in the play-in game. Um, and if I had to pick one team to have to win twice against, it would be them now. So I like our odds against them, whether we're the 8th or the ninth. I prefer to be the 8th, obviously. But I think today was just kind of a lucky game, and OKC wasn't really. I mean, they got blown out. I don't think they really cared that much. So yeah, I don't know. Like, we're only a game behind them, and we started 3.5 behind them. So, and there's still half the games left. I'm not too worried about it. We just got to take care of business. I mean, we can only control ourselves. If we win out, we'll absolutely be the 8th seed. I have no doubt about that. I think if we go 3-1, we'll be the 8th seed as well. I think that'll play out that way. There's a small chance if we go 2-2, we could get the 8th seed, but I'd rather just go 3-1 and not have to worry about any other team. Phoenix does look legit. I'm really excited to see them tomorrow against the Heat. I'm hoping the Heat actually try to win that game so we can get a good measure on it. And that even though I picked the Suns in the picks against the spread, I want the Heat to win that game for sure. Yeah, most of the teams now, except for New Orleans, have a pretty difficult schedule. And I think New Orleans and Sacramento play each other next game. I'm not sure if New Orleans plays Phoenix, but they might play each other too. Phoenix has to play one of those teams again, I think. Yeah. When the schedules got released and everyone was freaking out about New Orleans, um, I actually was thinking that some of these teams, like a Phoenix, and I thought maybe like Sacramento and New Orleans, those type of teams, would actually be tougher than playing teams like the Bucks and the Lakers because they want to come in and win these games, and the other teams are just kind of treating this as a preseason to get ready for the playoffs. So they want to be ready for the playoffs, but they're, like we talked about with the Lakers, the intensity level just isn't the same. No matter how hard you try to win a game, you can't you can't you can't you can't like force yourself to get intense when it's not like the playoffs or like a game you have to win. Like that's what I was worried about with Portland. Might actually be better that some of those teams won today that they did, is that they could have gotten a little complacent saying, oh, we've caught Memphis, we're tied with them, there's no way they're going to beat us for the 8th seed, they'll probably lose out. So yeah, I think we'll be okay now. We just need to keep treating every game like it's a playoff game, and we should do well and finish in that 8th seed. Yeah, Memphis winning today means it's pretty much guaranteed between us. I mean, if Phoenix keeps winning and wins out, that could be interesting to see what happens there, depending on how us and Memphis finishes. But yeah, it's pretty unlikely that Memphis would drop below 9th at the worst. But we'll see. The NBA sack is out. Yeah. I'm hoping the Kings still care and want to win games though. But yeah, I think I'm gonna try to find a way to end the stream, and then we got you guys covered tomorrow. Hopefully YouTube is back up and running properly because this is really annoying. But yeah. NBA execs are pissed the Pelicans blew it. I don't know, man. I mean, Blazers-Lakers is going to be a fun matchup, and Damian draws a lot of attention too. And if Zion's not even really playing or even if he's playing and on a minutes restriction, I don't know how fun that New Orleans team is compared to the Blazers. So, yeah, we've already talked about Anime Jake. I hope that's the case. I do kind of want to see what Portland does against a really good team like the Clippers. I think that'd be a good measuring stick for where this team is at. But yeah, I hope we get a free win as well. Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a good point, Trevin. Melo too. Melo, as you can see with some of these streams we've had, Melo has a huge following. So, and we get crap every time we say something bad about Melo, or not even bad, even if we just suggest that he be put in a different role. Like, we get tons of people messaging us on Twitter saying like, "Oh, screw you! How could you hate Melo? He's the best player ever. He's like the top defensive player of all time." I really was told that, but yeah, that's ridiculous. All right, guys. Yeah, so game starts at 10 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, and then we got post game show should be around 12:30 ish. I know Tori's gonna try to head to the beach later tomorrow, so I'm sure he'll want to back out at some point. I'm hoping YouTube works, and then I can take over and finish the stream if he's trying to get out early. But yeah, it should be a fun day. It's always kind of fun to wake up and have basketball. It's kind of like an NCAA tournament type feel to some of these games. It's going to be really exciting to see the playoffs and have games like all day instead of how they're so spread out. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when like you play on a Monday and then like game 2 isn't until like Friday or something, and it's just ridiculous how many games because they're trying to show all of them in prime time. But yeah, feel free anytime to hit me up on Discord or Twitter. And yeah, we'll be here after the game. And please get a victory, and please have YouTube fix their shit so we don't have problems tomorrow. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys tomorrow. You guys have a great night. Sleep well if you're going to sleep before the game. If not, have fun whatever you're doing. Russell Westbrook, suck it up and wake up for the game. It's 10 o'clock. It's not like it's like 6 a.m. or something. And yeah, all right, so I'll catch you guys later. Have a good night. Thanks for sticking with me through all these like technical difficulties and all that stuff. I'm still trying to learn YouTube, first of all, so that alone is hard enough, but then to have all these problems that we're having with the double streams and the YouTube not having a log out button or a in stream button is just really frustrating. All right, so thank you all for watching. It's been fun. I appreciate you all. I liked interacting with all of you, and you guys had some really good questions as always. And then I'll just do